Hey, Bassmaster Elite Series and Tackle Direct Pro, David Mullins here, and talking about pre-spawn and spawn and bass fishing. And that's what's happening a lot around the United States right now. You've got a lot of fish spawn, you got a lot of fish pre-spawn, and one of my favorite ways to catch them during this time of year would be a big swim bait. And a lot of times in pre-spawn, you know, these fish are looking for a big meal. They're really aggressive. They're feeding up for what's getting ready to happen with the spawn, because they might not be feeding for a little while. You know, they're getting every meal they can, and fish are usually aggressive, and it's time to, like, you know, you don't have to throw small stuff at this time. So I like throwing big swim baits. Usually they'll start on points, and you know, Cherokee and Douglas, we don't have a lot of cover as far as our lakes go. Our lakes are older, so what we have is rock and mud, so they really rely on structure, and that's points and humps and stuff where they stop going into spawn. And you know, other places they might be on timber, or they might be on bridge columns, or you know, any place they stop before they go into spawn. So the mouth of these creeks, stuff like that. But this is one of my favorites to throw. This is a 6-inch Scotch Brill swim bait. And the biggest thing I think the difference is whether to use a jig head or whether to use it, you know, weedless like this. And the times I go weedless would be if it's shallow water. So if it's like 6 feet and less or around cover, that's when I use the weedless. And or the, you know, it's called a belly weight, but I call it weedless. So that's the times I use that. So shallow water, cover, when you're needing it to get through something, not getting hung up, that's when I go to the belly weight. So if it's deeper than 6 feet, that's when I go to the open hook, or you know, if there's not much cover around, that's when I go to open hook, jig head. And you know, weights can vary. If you're fishing it out deep, you know, in the summertime you might go up to an ounce, ounce and a half, but usually around the spawn I'm throwing a 1/2 ounce most of the time. Occasionally might go to a 3/4 depending on how deep the fish are, but most time a 1/2 ounce. And on the belly weight it could be a 1/2 or less, and it's usually less because it's shallower. But again, if you're around cover, you might want to go to belly weight. If you don't have the cover, you use a jig head. It's a great way in the springtime to catch big bass right before they spawn, or even when they spawn. You know, a lot of times you can go down the bank when they're spawning and actually get fish to show themselves or actually bite this when they're actually spawning. So, you know, that's another reason I might use a belly weight, is go straight down the bank, fishing it shallow, keeping it up, and just, you're not necessarily looking to catch a bass, but you're looking for that bass to show itself. So that's a good way to use a belly weight in the spring. So check those out: swim bait, spring, pre-spawn, belly weight for shallow, round cover, jig head for no cover, a little bit deeper, and Scotch Brill swim baits. Best swim baits out. And my setup on that, usually I'm going to be using anywhere from 16 to 20 pound sunline shooter. You know, it's not a light line technique. You know, you need something heavy as far as line wise to get it out there. Same way with the rods. This is a 7.5 heavy action Corrado, and the reel is going to be a Corrado MGL 7.4 ratio, and that's my setup. And again, 7.4, you can winch the fish, control them a little better. It's got a little bit more power in it. The 7.5 Corrado rod lets me throw it farther and actually take up a lot more line when they bite it, especially on long casts. So check those out. Swim baits in the spring, Scotch Brills, always a good swim bait to use. And again, all these products can be found at Tackle Direct.